Yo man, I never imagined I'd be able to live in a place like this. Beautiful Miami sunshine. And I want to kind of talk and share with you how I've been able to actually get to this place, going from being completely broke, only having 1 month's rent in New York City, to eventually living here, having an incredible balcony view of this, having able to enjoy, go play, if you want to, go play some tennis, go play some golf, doing a job, doing work that I love. I want to share with you that in this video. So some of the things I'm going to be sharing with you today literally took me from someone who's making absolutely no money from my craft, absolutely no income from my writing, to being able to basically turn words into dollars in my bank account. I know that sounds crazy, right? But just some of the things that I'm going to be talking about today are the direct result of doing that, right? And it's really kind of the engine or the reason behind that. So if you've ever been wondering for how people can actually monetize their craft, can make money from their writing, that's really what I want to talk about today, whether that's writing articles, writing blog posts, writing anything out there, and using your words in order to earn your living. That's what I'm talking about today. So we're going to talk about how do we make money from writing. And kind of the first point that I want to get to really has to do with kind of changing your perspective. If you're willing to change your perspective, if you're willing to change the way you view this, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. So first of all, it is not about your writing. It's not about the words that you're using. It's not about the things that you're putting on the page, okay? And to kind of illustrate this a tiny bit, like I had so many times in my life where people said, you will never make money from writing. I've had teachers, English teachers, who have told me, Sal, if you want to make money, do not become a writer. If you want to make money, you will never make money from your writing. You're always going to be scraping by. There aren't very many career opportunities, etc. I've been told that time and time and time again from different teachers in my life. You know, at one point, my uncle, my very own uncle, told me, I hope that when you decide to actually get a job, you're going to pursue something more long-lasting, that you're actually going to a real career field and not just going to pursue this writing dream that you have. And yet, based on the things that I actually did and some of the things I'm talking about, I was able to have my entire career based around my writing, able to monetize my craft. So the biggest first shift that I made was that I didn't make it about my writing, I made it about the audience that I was writing for. Now, this is a very, very powerful mindset shift that you need to wrap your head around if you want to make money from your writing. So the first thing is that it's not just about like the words you're putting on your page, it's who is reading that content that you're putting out there. And when you start to make that fundamental shift, the world will start to open up at your fingertips. So for example, if you're writing for one audience, let's just say you're writing articles about your own thoughts and your own feelings, you're just kind of putting that out there. That could be interesting, and some people might connect with that, and some people might resonate or relate with that. But once you start to stop focusing on yourself, on you, on what you're feeling, on what you're thinking, instead starting to pay attention to the audience, how they're experiencing that craft. For example, like a movie producer, right? A movie producer is really focused on how the audience is going to perceive this creative work. Or an author is really focused on how the reader is going to perceive the story, right? Any kind of creative work, it's always about the audience. It's never just about the work. When it's just about the work, it's kind of this weird, esoteric maybe art that just a handful of people identify with, and most people are not willing to even spend money and actually to view that art. When it becomes more about the audience, then all of a sudden it becomes really interesting, phenomenal, profound experience where you can sell tickets to it, right? You kind of want to think of it in the same way when it comes to writing. The more that you think about your audience first, the more likely you are then to begin to make money from your writing. So it's the biggest first shift that I want you to make. If you're interested in monetizing your craft, start to focus more on audience, and that kind of leads into the next point I'm going to get into. The second thing that you need to be aware of if you want to make money from your writing is that you got to become known, okay? Why do I say that? Become known. Think about the people who are the highest paid authors, who are the highest paid writers that you know. Usually they're a household name, right? They're a Dan Brown, they're a James Peterson, right? James Patterson, sorry. There's so many different, big name authors that are out there that that are on the tip of your fingertips. The more that people know you, the more likely they are to not only pay a tremendous sum for your work, but also to recommend you to their friends. So whether you're trying to write nonfiction, for example, blog posts, articles, business advice, that kind of stuff, the more you become known as a thought leader, the more likely you are to be able to command a high dollar when it comes to the article price. If you're writing for someone else, right? A freelancing rate for someone else, or for people to discover you online and decide that they want to transact with you in some way. Maybe they want you to write articles for them. Maybe they want to hire you in some way to provide your expert consulting or expert ideas or strategy to whatever it is that they're trying to do. Maybe they want to hire you in some way to even just do a coaching session, right? Or maybe they want to purchase one of your ebooks or one of the books you end up making later at a further stage in your career. So the more you become known, whether that's doing fiction, entertainment style writing, poetry, whether that's more comic kind of writing, even if it's something more informational based kind of writing that I do, teaching, etc., it really is a kind of like a surefire way in order to command a higher price and also to be able to get people to discover you organically and you become a micro celebrity online. So if you want to make money from your writing, there is a system behind that, which I'm going to be talking about, but one of the easiest kind of like magic tricks is to be willing to become more known. And let me ask you a question. Are you willing to have thousands of people around the world read your writing? If the answer is yes, and to be honest, the first time I would be asked that question, the answer was probably no. I was so scared. I didn't know about putting myself out there. But the more I started to lean and change my answer from no to yes, the more I started to see success. The more I started to see people discovering me online. The more people reaching out to me. So once my answer started to go from no to yes, it started to be this profound, incredible element in my life. I started to have people reaching out to me online. I started to have, people who were looking to hire me for my services. It started to just kind of balloon the fact that I could actually become a full-time writer. And it was, to me, one of the most important parts that made that transition for me. Because up until that point, I was just another not known writer. But once I started to get more popularity, once I started to have more people discover me online, then I started to become more of a phenomenon, started to become a micro influencer in that way. The third thing, if you want to make money as a writer, is that you need to begin to develop assets. Okay, so we're going to say develop assets. Okay, what do I mean by assets, right? So let's just say we're taking the perspective of just writing articles on a freelancing basis. That's great. However, every single time that you're doing that, you're trading your time for money, right? Someone is hiring you, you're giving them all of your intellectual property, you're giving them all of your creative juice, you're just handing that over to them, then they're putting that article where? Probably on their blog, right? Maybe on their newsletter, maybe on their social media or a Medium or LinkedIn or something like that. They're taking your hard-earned words, creativity, everything that you've done up until that point. They're taking all of that from you and they're putting it on their business, their website, their blog, their LinkedIn, their Medium, right? They're using your creativity for their benefit in order to build their own assets. So they're using your words to build a blog, we'll just say, to build up articles to their content, etc. They're using your skills, experience, creativity to build their own asset, right? So if you are in this hamster wheel of doing that, of always writing articles, of always freelancing, of always doing this for someone else, what ends up happening is you're working so hard to build their assets online. When you really want to, go through the ceiling, I'd say, go through a six-figure ceiling, or to really smash it when it comes to your success as a writer online, you want to make sure that you're developing your own assets. Because what ends up happening then is all that time, creative juice, and energy that you're putting into your craft pays dividends years into the future. So when I first heard this, or when I first started to grasp this and kind of wrap my mind around this, and I started to study all these other writers, and it was all these writers that are making really good money have their own assets, right? I was like, gosh, I got to start to do this. But then my first question was like, okay, how do I do that, right? What kinds of assets should I be developing? So let's kind of expand on that just a tiny bit. And I'm going to kind of have a different color here. What kind of assets do I mean when I say develop different assets? So what's one example of an asset where someone hires you to write an article that goes onto one of their assets online? That could easily be a blog, right? So a blog is a great example of an asset because people will organically discover that blog online. They might decide to click those different links that you include in a blog post. Maybe they decide to hire the person who's running the blog. Maybe they decide to go and purchase a product, and maybe you make some affiliate commission or you make some money when someone decides to purchase a product that you link to in a blog. Maybe advertisers as well. You have some advertisements on that blog, and people, when they come there, it generates revenue from you very easily in a hands-off fashion, right? Almost on autopilot when people continue to discover your blog. In addition, they might share those blog posts, right? Share them with their friends. They might also share them, like if it goes viral online, all of a sudden you have a ton of people who are discovering your work online. That starts to elevate your status as a writer. So you need to develop assets. One such asset is a blog. What's another one? What's another? You can leave a comment down below if you come up with any ideas. What is another example of an asset which you could develop online? Another example would be really simply books, or we'll say ebooks, okay? Ebooks, it doesn't have to be necessarily a 300-page tome of an ebook. It could be simply like a 30-page ebook that you decide to publish out there and make available, maybe for $3, $5. So it's a very entry-level price, even $10, right? For an ebook that you're putting out there. Other assets would be obviously physical books, right? Physical content that you're putting out there. What else? Might be a white paper, right? Something that people can download. Other things might be like checklists to help with some kind of a process or a procedure. As a writer, you have the ability to write. You have the ability to put together creative work. You have the ability to make different things. And whatever you've been hired for in the past, or whatever you've done in the past, you can also do for yourself. Whether it's writing news stories around a certain trend, whether it's putting together useful educational blog articles, maybe that then recommend certain products or certain services, or end up selling your own within that. It's so powerful, man, when you start to develop your own assets, because then all of a sudden, you go from just working and having, rewriting and being able to, get some great jobs, and maybe you go on that hamster wheel and keep getting another job, getting another job, getting another job. It starts to get really tiring. You go from that to having your writing working for you, right? You start to have your work produce income. You start to have your work produce traffic, produce inquiries, have people hitting you up because they've read your work, which is public, because you've created different assets, okay? So this is the biggest step aside from becoming known. And these kind of work as well in tandem, right? When you're writing for an audience, that audience could be the blog, that audience could be white papers, that audience could be articles you're putting out there online, it could be books, it could be on LinkedIn, it could be Medium, etc. You become more known as well as a result of this process. So as you're developing these assets, you're also checking the boxes going up this little ladder. However, there's another thing that's so critical, so key when it comes to making money from your writing. The next biggest thing when it comes to making money from your writing is you need to follow a system, okay? Now, when I was just kind of getting started with writing, and I mean on more of a fictional basis, this was one of the things that I think I struggled with most. And the reason was that I had a great fiction writer. So I went to like Harvard for the summer school program, and I had a writer there who was like, Sal, writing is all about just like the organic style as it comes out and getting in touch with your emotions and making sure that you're being very clear with your intentions. And I was like, that's great, I'll do that. And I started to do that, and I didn't really ever improve in my writing. But then I had another teacher, and the other teacher says, Sal, maybe you can get started that way, but if you really want to become good at this, you got to study the greats. You got to be reading books on writing. You got to be reading about how to actually construct interesting stories. You got to be learning about the different types of stories, how to do cliffhangers, how to use the different instruments that are available at you, the different literary devices, and really how to become a perfected storyteller. And you're never going to figure that out yourself. You maybe are the one in a million that learn how to do that intuitively, organically, but anyone can learn how to do it. You just have to study story structure. You have to study actually how to write more flavorful and interesting writing. And when I had that epiphany, all of a sudden my writing started to get so much better in such a quicker span of time. It actually kind of reminds me as well of when I was first starting to play chess. So when I started to play chess with my uncle, which is also ironically the same person who told me about writing, he started to beat me every single time that I played chess. And I started to play harder, I started to play more, but still every time he would beat me. But then one day I discovered chess strategy. I was at Barnes & Noble, I discovered a chess book, I started to learn a little bit about chess strategy. Like, there are all these different techniques. When he moves this way, I can move this way, right? There's different ways of starting the entire board. There's a whole strategy behind this. There are tactics and techniques that can really have an incredible, powerful effect, right, when it comes to your gameplay. So once I started to incorporate the system, I started to follow a system that worked, man, I started to beat my uncle at chess. And I'm not even necessarily the smartest guy in the room, but because I was following a system, because I was following strategy, because I knew the different rules and how I should move certain pieces, I could win very easy because I understood the gameplay, right? So whatever area this is in your life, you might think of different areas and things that you've gotten better at. For example, just say you want to learn how to play golf. Well, you could try to figure it out intuitively, or you could hire a golf instructor, and all of a sudden you learn golf strategy. You learn how you should actually do your swing. You should learn how to hit the ball, how to make different strokes happen, right? How to use different irons, etc. If you're trying to learn something different, for example, let's just say you're trying to learn, for example, how to dance, right? Or you're trying to learn how to ballroom dance. Just say you can try to figure it out yourself, or you could just study actually the different movements that go into a particular dance. You can hire a dance instructor, right? And you can follow them. You can learn different steps that go into how you should position your body. You have really good posture, all of those different things. And all of a sudden, you know what you're doing actually looks like dancing, right? Crazy, crazy idea. So you need to follow a system if you want to make money from your writing. In the same way that a doctor has to go to school and they need to follow a particular system in order to be able to perform at a very high level, right, in their profession. In the same way the lawyer has to go through a system in order to perform at a very high level in the courtroom, right, or outside of the courtroom. The same way that an MBA, right, is going to go through business training in order to understand how to build a company to be able to become more valuable to their employer to make a ton of money from that. What is your education? So anyone can make money, like I said, from writing. Anyone can do this, but what's required of every single person is that they actually invest in that learning process. If they actually invest in understanding how to do this. So let's talk a tiny bit about what you should learn about, right? So now that you know you need to follow a system, and this is kind of what you got to do, right, in order to make money from your craft, what are some of the things you should be learning about, right? That's a really good question. The first thing is about the medium for which you're writing. So if you're doing online writing, obviously, you need to be learning about blog post writing. You need to be learning about how to write articles online. Now, when it comes to that as well, you're going to be thinking about a couple of different things. So this could be headlines, right? The more skilled you are at crafting headlines when it comes to your work, if you're writing articles online or you're putting out content, the more people are going to click those links, actually view your content, and have a chance to even read your writing. The vast majority of people do not even read your writing if you don't have a good headline. So first thing I'd say in your repertoire, if you're trying to like put together a little bit of a syllabus, if you will, to learn so you can actually make money from writing, you want to learn about headlines. Number two, the second thing that you want to learn about is paragraph structure. Now, why am I saying that? The reason why I'm saying that is that writing online is actually very different from writing offline because you're trying to maintain attention. A lot of times people are also reading your writing on a freaking phone, which is so small. You have to learn about proper paragraph structure, which is usually smaller paragraphs. But there's also a way of using sentence structure in order to get people reading much more quickly. So you want to read about paragraph structure, how to get someone reading, how to have emotional hooks throughout the actual body of your content. So someone stumbles on it and not only they start reading, but they keep reading your content. They keep staying interested until the very end. That's when you have a very loyal reader on your hands. Number three is what I call content formulas, okay? So I'm talking about content formulas. Now, in my early days, I believed that I was a freaking genius, man, that I was brilliant, that every idea that just flowed from my head was the right idea. And I came up with so many different wacky ideas of different topics to write about when it came to articles, when it came to my own blog posts, when it came to putting out content, trying to build up my own assets, right, on ebooks and stuff like that. I had so many wacky ideas, but some of them worked really well and some of them didn't, and I wasted a lot of time. So instead, once I started to adhere to more of a system and start to follow things like content formulas, you start to actually discover the types of content that automatically is built in to work. So if you've ever gone on Google and you've started to search different things and you notice a lot of the results are kind of similar, right? 17 tricks to do this, top 5 websites to do this, right? 7 master tools to help you do X, Y, and Z, or the easiest way, how to do X, Y, and Z. Like, these are different content formulas that you can easily copy. The ultimate guide to what, right? These are all content formulas. And this is part of your curriculum, part of your training, is that the more as a writer you understand different content formulas for your industry, if you're becoming an article writer, or if you're putting out your own blog for your particular industry, your niche, the better you are going to do, because you're working off of a war chest of content information that's already designed to do well, that's already designed to work well with readers. And the last one that I'm going to mention is really how to use your writing to sell, okay? Now, your writing, at the end of the day, even if it's your own, let's just say you're doing something on your own. For example, you're doing comic writing, or you're doing more crafts of like poets, or you're doing something more that's poetic, you're doing something more that's creative in nature. Whatever it is you're trying to make money from, you are selling something. You are always selling something, even if it's just to sell the reader to continue to read your craft. So you have to understand a little bit of the art of sales. Now, this is a lot of content. This is a lot of stuff to master. This is why it takes people years often to actually make money online when it comes to their writing and to their craft. So one of the things that I've tried to do is I've really tried to streamline this process. I've tried to pick what I think is the easiest and the surest and the straightest path to success if you want to make money from your writing online. And what I've kind of discovered or unearthed is that for those that are just getting started, I think that the easiest way for all the people that I've coached, for all the people that I've helped over the years, the easiest and most repeatable way to see very quick success is to start your own blog. Okay. And a lot of these other things can come with time, but the number one thing you want to do is you want to start your blog. Even if you're trying to make money just writing articles online on a freelancing basis, if you have a blog, you can command a much higher rate. People can easily sample your writing. People can discover you online, discover your work. When you have a blog, it's like you're creating an asset, and at the same time, you're getting paid when you're writing articles online. If you're trying to do something else on your own and get an audience and get known, again, this is the greatest way to do it, using the skill that you already have. So I kind of discovered that, and for me, that led to incredible success in my life. Back in 2012, I started my blog, crowdcrush.com, and literally a guy who's in college went into being an overnight success, having thousands of people discover my work online and catapulting my entire online career. That's when I went full-time on my work as an online writer, because I started a blog and put content out there in public, and I was also developing different assets. And the second thing that I realized is that there is a system to this. Starting a blog is difficult and it can be kind of time consuming. You don't always know what even idea you should get started with when it comes to blog. What should I focus on? What should my niche be, right? What should I really write about? But they all have actual definitive answers to that question. So I started to kind of plot this out. I got really obsessive about this, right? And it got so exciting for me as well, because I realized it could help so many people out there. And I put all of this information into a system that I've developed to help literally anyone out there, even if you've never considered starting a blog before, to understand what you should be writing about, to understand how to actually get the greatest idea for the blog, and what you should name it, how to write those different articles, different article formats, how do you market this thing once you get it going, how to get started for literally pennies on the dollar, and not even have a very big investment at all when it comes to getting this all set up very quickly. I put all of that into this system. And what I've done is I've actually made this free for you. So you can go down below and enroll in my free How to Start a Blog course, which will just walk you through basically how to get this thing up and running. And maybe at some point in time, you decide to purchase one of my books, like Blogging for Beginners. You decide to purchase one of my other books, like How to Become a Digital Nomad, which is you can actually work at your laptop and be, at the beach at the same time, or be traveling at the same time. Maybe you decide to in the future, but if you're just interested in kind of learning about this, go and check out the free link down below, which will show you how to start a blog quickly, easily, and in a very cost-efficient way. And we'll start to introduce you to all this different curriculum that I've mentioned before. So you'll start to develop your assets, you'll become known, you'll start to be writing for a specific audience, and by following the system, you are in a surefire path in order to unlock success in this area of your life. So this video is way longer than I wanted to make, but thank you so much for staying around to this point in time. Give me a thumbs up, come subscribe for more content, and make sure you join that free course down below showing you how to start a blog. My name is Salvador Brigman, and I'll see you next time.